a video that kind of struck a nerve because it's something I'm passionate about and I wanted to talk about. Um, the used car market is probably going to get a lot more expensive in the next few years. Companies are implementing mandatory, rather, the government is implementing mandatory, how do I word this? It's mandatory technology that can determine whether or not you are drunk. Now, I see a lot of possible ways this could be abused or even not work properly. And I found a video talking about this, and so I wanted to play a little bit of this and put my 2 cents in. And I wanted to talk about, some of the shared thoughts here. So I'm gonna throw this video up. This is from Dirt Lifestyle, and Dirt Lifestyle is an off-road outdoor YouTube channel hosted by Nate. Here's the video. It's called "The Used Truck Market Collapse is Coming." You can't see it because my big head is there, but yeah, it says it over here. The used truck market collapse is coming. Now I'm going to play most of it, so the very end I don't really care about. But I agree with most of what Nate says. I agree with most of what Nate says here, that this ain't gonna end the way we think it's gonna end. So let's hear what Mr. Nate has
I
to
think
say.
that we're about to go into the scariest used car market conditions of my lifetime. And so I have been quietly selling off parts of my fleet and replacing them with what I think is the most flexible vehicle lineup that I can afford.
Automakers would be required to install impairment detection technology in all new vehicles.
You got to give them $21 a month extra if you want full power.
You're driving in your car and an ad pops up on your dashboard.
Auto dealers have a math problem. Ballooning prices are keeping potential buyers off lots.
Between record prices, a whole bunch of gouging tactics, and some very undesirable new laws, I think that it's going to be very difficult to convince anybody to buy a new car.
Remember, this is asking customers to pay more to use features that are already in their cars.
But there is a law that states that every vehicle manufactured is going to have a kill switch in it.
Okay, so that kill switch, that's what we're talking about. The impairment systems. There's other conditions that would activate the kill switch. This is very, very dangerous. Okay, this isn't something that most people want in their cars.
The car itself will monitor your driving. And if the car thinks that you're not doing a good job driving, it will disable itself.
There's roughly 15 million new cars.
Now, on top of that, on top of the car disabling itself, no one knows for sure if the car would be able to auto drive to the curb, to the shoulder of the road, or if it would just shut down. It would just say, hey, shut down in 1 minute. You have 60 seconds to get off the road. Car's going to shut down. Nobody knows. We don't know what it looks like yet. But we know that it'll be abused. 100% it'll be abused. It'd be abused by terror groups. It'd be abused by police. It would be abused by tons of people. This isn't something that most of us want. Most people, whether you're on the right, whether you're on the left, most people don't want this. Anyway, let's continue with the video.
Buyers in the United States every year. And these people are incredibly important for the used market because they eat that initial depreciation that makes it to where these vehicles, and after a few years of ownership, become affordable for those of us that live in the used market. When you look at how much price gouging there is for new vehicles these days, when you look at the fact they want you to pay to use your heated seats, pay to use your stereo, they want you to pay to use a whole bunch of different features to unlock all the power in your vehicle. They want you to pay extra money in the Mustang Mach-E for them to install the trunk liner. It's an extra $500 to use your trunk.
So that's another thing, we see the record prices of cars. It keeps going up and up and up and up to the point where people like me are like, I just never buy a new car, I guess, because fucking used cars are following the same trend. Used cars are following that same upsweep where they're getting more and more and more expensive. I've been looking, back when I was younger, 16 to 20, you could buy a decent car for $2,000. My wife's car we bought for $2,000. 5 or 6 years ago, We've had that car for a long time. No major problems, no major issues. I think we had fucking ball joints and I had to replace some oxygen sensors. Now I had a minute fighting to figure out what it was because it was throwing random codes. Found out it was an oxygen sensor. Replaced one oxygen sensor. Wasn't the right oxygen sensor. We replaced the other oxygen sensor. Car runs great. I replaced so many parts trying to figure that out. It was a nightmare. But aside from that, this car has never given us problems. We bought it for $2,000. It's 26 years old. It runs great. It's starting to need some body work because it's 26 years old. But hey, that's nothing I can't deal with. Is it going to be the prettiest? No. Is it going to get done? Yes. Are there going to be holes in my car? No. Unless I put them there for some reason. Anyway, $2,000 bought us a car that's lasted us 6 years. Knock on wood, we get another 6 out of it. I love this vehicle. And it cost us no money. Now I have $2,000 to look for a car, and I can't find a vehicle that runs for $2,000. The used car market has doubled in price. It's getting harder to buy a used car as it is. And then they're adding all this technology that, you got to pay a subscription to use this. If you want your Apple CarPlay to work, you got to pay a subscription. If you want Google Maps to work on your car, you got to pay a subscription. It's ridiculous. We already can't afford the car. Now you want me to pay a subscription service on top of that? It's fucking retarded.
This is going to turn off a ton of people. It already has. There's already been a mass exodus especially when you add all that to the fact that new cars cost more than ever, and they're just absolutely outrageous, and it's difficult to afford anyway. Then couple that to the fact that there's been so much legislation that has been tossed around that's pretty scary between state and national governments. This is not a political video, but when you look at the law that looks like is going to pass, where they're going to require all vehicle manufacturers.
Just to be clear, I have no affiliation with Dirt Lifestyle. My opinions are my own. I do not represent Dirt Lifestyle or have any affiliation with Dirt Lifestyle. These are my opinions based off his thoughts.
To manufacture all new cars with software and hardware that is going to measure your state of mind, at least attempt to, and decide whether or not you're intoxicated. And this is going to make a lot of people uncomfortable. And I would argue that it's actually very unsafe if you want to drive your wife to the hospital while she's in labor. If you're a girl who's being chased down in a parking lot, you hop in your car to drive away like we see in the movies. Probably a rare thing, but certainly would happen. When you look at the fact that you might just get your ass kicked at a park, you need to drive yourself to a hospital. In any of these scenarios, if the vehicle looks at your face and can tell changes, can tell that you're stressed out or that you got your ass kicked, it might decide to not let you start your car. So I can see why a lot of people be turned off by that. It certainly turns me off. And there's no way that I would willingly own a car with that kind of tech.
Now, Nate makes some good points. Wife's in labor and it can detect that something's not right. High stress. You just got attacked or you're about to be attacked, and it can detect the high stress based on your face, and it doesn't allow you to drive. That's the beginning. This goes farther into potential weaponization by governments, by terror organizations, where come 2040, when almost every car on the road has this, how easy would it be to shut down an entire highway and then commit a terror attack? How easy would it be to launch a small terror attack, and then shut down everybody's cars so it makes it harder for them to leave the area so that they can rack up a higher body count? Okay, I'm not saying this is likely. I'm not saying this is what's going to happen, but I'm saying it's what could happen. I think Nate makes more realistic, more probable arguments, but I make the over-the-top argument for a reason. Do you remember, I think it was Fast 5, 6, or 7, I don't know. It was one of the more recent Fast and Furious movies where they were able to remote take over all these cars. If you ever played Cyberpunk 2077, which I owe that game an apology, that's a whole different story. That's a whole different video I need to make. Dope ass game. It has become one of my favorites. I digress. Not this video. But if you've ever played Cyberpunk 2077, you are able to hack into cars to the point where you can remote take over some of these cars. Sometimes it's as simple as you can release the parking brake, or you can set the car alarm off, or because a lot of the cars are electric, you can just set it full throttle and it'll go crashing into something. It's something that is plausible down the road, especially with all these cars having electronic throttle control, electronic steering controls. Everything's electronic now. A lot of these cars have a steering wheel, and then it's wires that go down to a controller in the front end that steers the wheels. You know, an old car has a metal shaft that connects to a box that connects to a metal rod that connects to your wheels. I mean, it's some of these cars don't even have that anymore. If you lose that connection electronically, your steering wheel doesn't do anything. A lot of cars still have that steering shaft that goes down in there, but I'm exaggerating a little bit for the point. Once it gets to the point where your steering wheel can just be electronically disconnected, what do you do then? What do you think these cars that have lane keep assist are, where it's able to steer back for you? You don't think that could be hacked, and you don't think that could be modified to work? And I don't mean like physically modified. I mean like the code could be modified to make it so that the car can steer farther, to make it so that the car can actually be driven remotely. It's very possible. And with throttle controls being electronic, all my cars are old. There's a metal cable that goes from the gas pedal to the throttle on the motor. And when you push the pedal, it pulls that cable. Newer cars, it's all done by wires. I had a 2007 Jeep Wrangler, and it was done by wires. It was the worst thing about that car. It drove like shit because of that. I make the point that somebody could have hacked into my Jeep, and they could have made my engine rev uncontrollably, or they could have made my engine not receive throttle input. There's a lot they could have done to that vehicle to make certain parts of it not work. Now, it wasn't as bad because it didn't have all these tech features like the cameras inside. It didn't have the ability to shut it down with a kill switch. It didn't have any of these features. They're just making these things that it would take a hacker to do. It's just going to be as simple as going to the DMV records and hit revoke driving. It's very dystopian, and I don't like it. I do not enjoy
all the reasons I just listed. I think it's very obvious when you look at the trends of the last 5 years, which I have been, that the new car market is about to completely deteriorate, and it's going to take these 15 million people with money and it's going to inject them into our space, which is the used car market. The current used market is actually great. And when you look at the fact there's 19 million Americans that are currently behind on their car payments, I think it's safe to say that when many of these vehicles get flooded into the used market, that's just going to drive price.
Okay, so you just said there's 19 million people behind on their car payment. There's 15 million people a year buying a new car. More people are behind on payments than buying a new car. That's already a problem. That's already not looking great, just to put that out there. And I think people are starting to see these lending practices are predatory and they're terrible, and nobody wants to get tangled up with an auto loan anymore.
This is down even further. So what type of vehicles are worth getting while the getting's good? Corky Classics, in my opinion, are always going to be a good investment because there's just always an interest in these.
Okay, now I will say he makes a good point. Classics are a good investment. Yes, 100%. So is equipment. You can buy a tractor, a skid steer, whatever. That's always a good investment, especially if you have a use for it. If not, it's something that can hold value and you can sell it or you could potentially flip it. But a tractor is something you could buy and store value in it. Anyway, classics like this Land Rover, for example, though, this is not a family vehicle, right? This is a very rugged off-road vehicle. A lot of people aren't going to want this. A lot of people are going to want something a little more modern. I go from driving my Jeep, which is a 1990 Cherokee, to my wife's car, which is a 2000 Explorer, and I'm like, oh my God, the amenities, right? And my Jeep and the Explorer have a lot of the same amenities, but they're better in the Explorer, right? They're a lot more modernized, and it's only 10 years newer. Get into a 2010, and you're like, holy crap, this is a spaceship. I think a lot of people are going to cap purchasing at like 2016. Anyway, let's continue.
And I think that no matter what the market looks like, if you buy it low enough and you get a good deal, because there's just always an interest in these.
I thought that's a
and
commercial
I
vehicle
think
unless
that no matter
it's
what the market
electric
looks
vehicle.
like, if you buy it low enough and you get a good deal on it, it's just going to always trend upward, even though trending upward might look like this. However, I don't think these are going to be very affected by the changes that I'm talking about that are going to happen in the next couple of years. I just don't see old, cool, used stuff changing very much as a reaction to people with money in the new car scene now investing in used cars. My prediction.
So the point he's making is the niche cars are going to stay niche. The market's going to stay what it is for those niche cars. Now, I disagree with him here where he starts to talk about EVs.
Is that these three vehicles are all going to probably go up in value a bit. I don't know about the Rivian specifically, but I think that the used EV market will explode during this time when we watch the used market go nuts.
See, here's where I disagree. I think the EV market will collapse. Not immediately. There might be an initial boom, but I think the EV market will collapse because EVs are so expensive to maintain in comparison to an internal combustion engine. EVs are expensive. They're hard to maintain. They require a lot of not mechanical know-how. They require a lot of electrical know-how. They require a lot of very specific skill set to work on. If you buy a diesel and you've only worked on gas engines, they're not that much different. A handful of YouTube videos and you can understand the niche and the fine details that are different from a gas engine to a diesel. However, you buy exclusively gas engines and you go to an EV, it's a whole new learning curve on how do these things work, right? A diesel engine and a gas engine do the same thing. They pull in air and fuel, they burn air and fuel, they make the tires spin. It's very simple. Transmissions work the same. The only thing that's different is the combustion source and the injection source. For the most part, they're the same. Things still have to go around, things still have to go up and down, everything's pretty much the same. Valves still work the same. Pistons still work the same. Camshafts still work the same. The only thing that's different from gas to diesel is fuel injection and the type of fuel, obviously. Don't put gas in a diesel engine. That's not going to work out well. Anyway, I just don't think that the EV market is going to stay where it's at or boom on the used side. I see car lots that have had EVs on their lots forever. I see people buying like a 2006 Jeep Liberty over an EV, even though it's like, well, I could put $5,000 down on this EV and I don't know how to fix it, or I could buy this Jeep Liberty for $5,000 and at least I know how to work on it. Yeah, it's a little bit older, but I can still I can fix this thing. I can't fix that EV. That's my big issue with them is they're so expensive, and a lot of times they require proprietary software from a dealer. But I digress. Let's continue.
And it's because all those people with money, what are they looking for? I think that they're going to be looking for modern feeling vehicles that still have modern tech, but don't have a whole bunch of the other modern problems that you get into when you buy a brand new vehicle today, like having to pay to use your heated seats or having to deal with some sort of a system that's scanning you to decide whether or not you're allowed to start it. This is all before that generation. And so I think
I will say a little bit of an autistic tangent, but this Tacoma here in the background, he's got a build series on this Tacoma. And if you do own a vehicle that's like this, I mean, he shows you how to install your own heated seats. You have to get custom covers made and whatnot. But I mean, it's the information in that could very easily be used to tap into the wiring of your factory heated seats and provide your own power supply. But it's not something I want to do on a car that I have a $700 a month payment on. You know, something that I've paid off, okay, whatever, I don't care. Something that I'm paying $700 a month, I shouldn't have to do that. I digress.
that this is going to end up becoming pretty valuable for that reason. And if you ever talk to somebody who owns an EV, they are incredibly passionate and enthusiastic about EVs. So I think that the used EV market, I also think the Toyota Tacomas of this generation, right now they're falling. Toyota Tacomas and Jeep Gladiators, this is a 2021. We just had a Gladiator. I think both of those are going to start to go back up too. Right now they're in free fall, and that's a good time to buy. But I could see a world where a lot of those people with money start to buy things that are kind of a toy and something that can be reliable daily, and both of those vehicles completely fall into that space as like a very well-rounded vehicle. So totally my guess.
That's another disagreement I have. I don't think people are going to buy a toy and a daily driver. I think most of these people, if they're planning on spending $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 on a car, they're going to buy something to drive, and then if they want a toy, they're going to buy a toy. I don't think that they're going to try to get two for the price of one. I think most of these people, they're going to buy a $30,000 used 4Runner, and they're going to say fuck it. But I digress. This is something that I wanted to talk about because it's something that's near and dear to my heart. I am a huge gearhead. I love cars. I love trucks. I love all kinds of stuff. If it has motors and tires, and it doesn't even necessarily have to have tires. If it has an engine, though, it is something I am interested in. If there's a motor, I like it. I'm not a huge diesel guy, though. I really like diesels. Kind of annoy me. It's not diesels; it's diesel culture that annoys me. Right? Like diesels are cool; they're incredible motors. It's diesel culture that annoys me. It's these people that are like, "Oh, I'm a diesel guy," and like that's their whole personality. And it's like, cool. What do you do? Diesel. Okay, what do you like? Diesel. And it's like, okay, you're not a person. You're just a fucking walking advertisement for diesel motors. Kind of like people that own Glocks. Like they're the worst fucking people. Like, and this is coming from someone who owns a Glock. Like, Glock owners are the fucking worst people. And like, I recommend when people come to me and they're like, "What should I buy? What should my first gun be?" Glock 19. Why? Because there's parts everywhere. Everyone knows how to shoot them. Everyone knows how to fix them. Fucking buy something simple, and if you don't like it, you can get them dirt fucking cheap. If you get a Gen 3 or up, you can get a Gen 3 police turn-in for fucking $400. I think that's what my buddy Mike did. I think he might have got a Gen 4. He had either a Gen 3 or a Gen 4 police turn-in for like $400. I mean, you can get a super reliable pistol dirt cheap for fucking no money. So like when people ask me like, "Oh, I want to go off-road, what's the best vehicle to buy?" A fucking cheap one that people know how to work on. A lot of times I lean towards the Jeep Cherokee or the Grand Cherokee. I often recommend the Grand Cherokee because you have coil springs front and rear. You have a ton of suspension travel right out of the rip. And if you get the WJ that have relatively decent sized tires, right out of the gate you have 31 or so inch tires. You have coil springs front and rear, so you have a ton of suspension travel, and you have a decent four-wheel drive system and a good reliable motor. I mean, what else do you need to know? And it's straight axles front and rear. It's really simple to work on. You can align it in your driveway with a tape measure. Like, there's a lot you can do on these vehicles that is dumb simple. And I mean, I haven't gotten alignment in like 3 years. I just aligned my wife's car with a tape measure. Like, it's not the fucking hardest thing out there to align a car. People act like this is like rocket surgery. It's like not hard at all to align your own car. If I can do it, you can do it. And if you just look up the tape measure method, it's very simple. It's not hard to do at all. It's a simple thing. But I digress. These people that Nate's talking about that are buying these brand new cars, these aren't people that are going to align their car at home with a tape measure. They're not people that are looking for a toy. They're people that are looking for, I need to get to and from work. They're people like my mother. My mother, she knows how to change her own oil. She'll never do it. She might have changed her own oil a handful of times, but my mother doesn't change her own oil. My mother's not going to align her car with a tape measure. She's not going to buy a toy and a commuter. She's going to buy a car to drive. It drives my mother insane whenever I modify a car. Why would you do that? Why did you do that? That makes no sense. Makes sense to me. Doesn't fucking matter what you think. It's my car. right? Like my wife's car, she got in an accident, so I built a bumper, and I like very minimalist bumpers. So I built her it's a square tube, and it just wraps around the front of the car, and there's a winch plate, and the tube is mounted to the winch plate. The winch is in the car now, and it's very simple, a very easy bumper, not a whole lot of fabrication. I just pie cut a piece of square tube and just rounded it around the corners of the car. That's it. Simple bumper. Took me a couple days to build. I mean, 2 or 3 days to build. Make sure everything was sitting right. Make sure everything was leveled out. And there's more I'm going to add to it. But I mean, just to get a bumper on the car with a winch, it took me 2 or 3 days with a grinder and a welder, a cheap Harbor Freight welder. I might add. Really good welder though. Holy shit! This welder, like, it punches way above its weight class. It's a gasless welder, and I can weld fucking 1/4 inch to 1/4 inch. Like that's, and I'm not a good welder, mind you. So if I can weld 1/4 inch to 1/4 inch with this shitty fucking Harbor Freight welder, imagine what you can do with a good welder and some time. I mean, it's one of those things. Like, I'm not a great welder. Never really learned how to weld in like school or anything. I just kind of figured it out. And this welder is just, it kicks ass. And I'm able to make things like bumpers. Now, do I think this bumper is going to survive a 70 mile an hour impact? God, no. I don't think it would survive a 40 mile an hour impact. But neither did the bumper that was on the car. So it's at least as strong as a factory bumper. If somebody backs into the car in the Walmart parking lot, no. But people like you and me aren't the people that Nate's talking about. You and I might say, okay, let's build us a bumper. The people that Nate's talking about getting from the brand new car market to the used car market, they're people that are just looking for a car. So I don't think he's 100% right on all of this, but it is something I wanted to touch base on. It's something I wanted to talk about because while I often talk about, oh, the economy's falling apart, people can't afford houses, people can't afford this, people can't afford that. Cars are another thing people cannot afford. They're too fucking expensive. And with the addition of technology that track, traces, and databases your life, we don't want that. As Americans, part of car ownership as an American is the freedom it gives you, right? I am free to go where I want, when I want, how I want. I can go, if I want to get in my car tomorrow and drive to Florida, if I've got gas money, I can do that. No one can stop me. Now, maybe you can't do that because of work. Maybe you can't do that because you have other obligations, but I digress. If you can afford it, you can do it. And cars are a big way to do that. How many people remember when you were a kid taking a road trip to Florida or taking a road trip to California or whatever? For me and my dad, we road trip to Florida every year to see my grandparents. Every year. And we looked forward to it until it was time to go home because, God, who wants to drive 18 hours back to fucking Ohio? 1,100 miles to go back to Ohio. Yay. It was terrible. It was terrible. Now, when my dad was married to his one wife, she drove truck as well, so, you know, it was nothing for them both to drive. I believe I drove a good chunk the one year we went down. I think I drove probably halfway, I think. And then my dad finished us out, so we didn't have to stop and sleep. He just kind of napped while I drove, which he wasn't supposed to do because I think I was 15. I just had my learner's permit. He wasn't supposed to be napping, but, you know, I won't tell if you don't tell. I also started driving at 12, so there's that. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know, car ownership is just a big part of the American way, and we don't want cameras and spies in our fucking cars. We want to be able to get in our car and go on a road trip. I don't want my car spying on me. So, but anyway, that's all I got. Something I wanted to talk about, something that really struck my tism, and I just had to say something about it because I don't like the way new cars are going. But anyway, that's all I got. I'll see you all in the next one. Later, dink.